We watched SummerSlam, as perhaps most of you did. Certainly some of you did. This was a 2-match show, but those two matches were quite possibly the best matches in this company this year. So, thumbs up, just on those two alone. The pre-show match was Dean Ambrose versus RVD. They wrestled for a while, and then when Rob went for a frog splash, out came the Shield. Mark Henry and the Big Show came out, and they went to commercial. Yes, they went to commercial in the pre-show.
A commercial on the pre-show in the middle of a match.
And then when it came back from commercial, the singles match was still going on. And then they just did the DQ finish anyway. Rob was running wild, and Roman Reigns speared him. And it was a DQ, and the babyfaces sent the Shield packing. This was not the best commercial for a pay-per-view I ever saw.
Most notable thing about this show, really, is they switched the finishes in at least 2 of the matches.
Switched them from during the day, or
presumably. Well,
from what was originally planned.
Based on the odds have been nearly 100% accurate since about WrestleMania or before, and here Dean Ambrose was the favorite, and Damian Sandow was also the favorite, and they both lost. So there you go.
So Miz opened the show. He was the host of SummerSlam. He began to run down the card of the show we had already purchased, which always either annoys me or just I don't get it, the point. Then Fandango and Summer Rae interrupted. They danced around him. Miz said, "Really?" a lot. Then he said, "Welcome to SummerSlam." That was the intro.
In hindsight, the Miz is the host. It's kind of funny because, who wants to see Miz as host? And at the end of the day, it was a complete waste of time, which actually to me is better than had it not been a waste of time. I would rather he was around as little as he was.
Is anyone else confused by what he just said?
Yeah, think about this. Miz was the host of SummerSlam.
Yes.
They could have had Miz in every single goddamn segment, ruining the show. Instead, he was only in about 3 segments for a grand total of about 2 minutes of television time. So it was a complete waste of time to even bother having Miz as the host of SummerSlam, and that was a positive that it was a complete waste of time to have him do that job.
As opposed to, because if it had...
If they'd utilized him like they normally would for the host of a show, it would have been infuriating.
I see.
Yes.
Yeah, he's no good. They had a really cool video package. It was they're in LA, so it was the
and
Hollywood
what a payoff,
theme.
by the way. We'll get to that.
Yeah, for Miz and Fandango, and off the video package. Then JoJo came out to sing the national anthem. This is far and away the most talented thing anyone associated with Total Divas has ever done. I don't know why she's in this business. She should be singing. Opener is Bray Wyatt versus Kane in the Ring of Fire match. This is the gimmick where there's trays of flame around the ring, and ordinarily they're just kind of sizzling along at about 6 inches of height, and then whenever there's a big bump, they hit the switch and the flames shoot up into the sky.
Yeah.
So they couldn't do anything because there's fire everywhere. And they kind of teased running into it a few times. They did a few moves. The Wyatt family kept trying to interfere, but, fire. I liked it when they tried to pass a kendo stick through the flames and the kendo stick lit on fire. So apparently there were no non-wooden weapons available. They tried to use... There were firemen at ringside. I wrote 1. I think there's a small number, 2, 3, or 4. So the Wyatts destroyed one of the firemen and grabbed a fire extinguisher, tried to put the flames out, but they just came back. And then finally they found like a flame retardant blanket. And it laid this over the flames, and then used the stairs to get in over that. And they all beat up Kane, and it was no DQ anyway. So they beat him up for a long time, and Bray hit him with his move. Then they smashed his head between the stairs again, which you've already seen before, and then they dragged him away, and he's going to go make a movie now. So we're right back where we were with these guys when they first came in. Match was no good. They couldn't do anything, and the gimmick was just it. The gimmick started off as... It started off as a distraction, I guess, in that there's all people could look at because it was so different. And then the first 3 or 4 times the flames shot up, people got into it. And then by the end, they were numb to that, and it killed the action and went beyond being a distraction and was a severe hindrance. So this is not a good opener.
No. In fact, it was quite horrendous, actually. This may have been, I don't know. Dave thought it was the worst WWE
Dave said it was the worst
year,
match of the year for this company. I didn't think it was the worst match on the show.
Well, I thought it was the worst match on the show. What was worse?
The girls.
It wasn't a girls' match. It was a mixed tag.
Natalya and Brie Bella.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot about that. Yeah. But anyway, the point was I thought that, he wrote it was the worst match before that other match took place.
That's true.
But I think the bigger issue is that Bray Wyatt has apparently not been working all that much. He looked really slow, and it looked like he got really tired. And Kane, with a guy who's slow and tired, hardly lights the world on fire. Neither guy looked good. And this is a match where you kind of really want to look good. It's the big thing, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, very disappointing. I didn't expect it to be any good. It's an Inferno match. It's a gimmick. But I certainly expected it to be better than this. And I was very upset that the Wyatt family did not just walk through fire to get in there and kill Kane.
We had thoughts from the celebrity panel of Vicky Guerrero, Booker T, and Shawn Michaels Beard.
Oh, yeah.
They asked Shawn what he thought about the Wyatts, and he admitted they made him uncomfortable. Keep in mind, 3 minutes before they asked him this question, they had destroyed a man's brain in between steel steps. Shawn's not comfortable with that kind of thing. We had a Paul Heyman promo from the pre-show where there's a great promo where he said Punk versus Lesnar was going to be David versus Goliath with a different finish. And he announced that match would be no DQ. Damian Sandow and Cody Rhodes had a match. It was slightly longer than a Raw match. They'd used some new moves. Damian used something that was kind of like a sideways sharpshooter. Cody used a muscle buster. And then Cody won with Crossroads. That was it. The only newsworthy thing here is Cody shaved his mustache.
He did. Just shaved it off. Apparently there's a YouTube video or something.
That's a vast improvement. Christian versus Alberto Del Rio. Del Rio insisted Lillian introduce him in Spanish, to which our own Brent Kremen shouted, "I like that!"
Don't get me started.
He wanted the world to know how much he liked Lillian Garcia introducing Alberto Del Rio in Spanish. So they had a good match, certainly a good pay-per-view quality match, a good World Championship match, but they had a better match on SmackDown 9 days ago, or whatever it was.
SmackDown match was better.
Yeah, so I wasn't blown away. It was good. The finish actually was awesome. Del Rio worked over Christian's arm the whole time, and Christian kept teasing a spear and not getting it, including the time he teased a spear, and as he's running out of the corner, Del Rio does the, what do you call the drop kick where your back's to the mat? You don't like twist in midair.
This is drop kick.
This is a drop kick. He did a drop kick and kicked Christian in the face with both feet. It was awesome. So anyway, Christian, by the end of this match, he finally hits the spear, but when he hits it with the bad shoulder. So he's grabbing his arm and he's grimacing, and Del Rio's on the mat grabbing his ribs and rolling around, and then from his back, he grabs Christian's arm and puts him in the armbar. And Christian fought for a while and tried to stack him up, but finally tapped out, and that was it.
Because Alberto fish hooked him.
He did fish hook him down at one point, yes.
It's not allowed.
So Renee Young tried to interview Del Rio, and he said the Mexican people needed someone to look up to, someone who would tell them everything would be okay, and he was that man, and the crowd seemed fine with that.
He said he was a hero to Latinos, and he was a better babyface here than he was when he was a babyface.
Yes. That is...
It's always awesome.
I hadn't thought about that, but that is true.
Yep. I was cheering for him as a Latino.
Sure. I'm not Latino. I was cheering for him. They showed highlights of the Maria Menounos match from Access.
Menounos.
How do you say it?
Menounos.
Menounos.
Okay. As a Latino.
Yeah. They showed highlights of the Maria Menounos match from Access. And, boy, if these were the highlights...
Yeah.
I can only imagine what the rest of this match looks like.
This was the best they could find from a match that took place at 2 p.m.?
Yes.
Good God almighty.
So, she was backstage talking about the Bellas and Total Divas. And
this was awesome.
Fandango and Summer Rae interrupted. And so Miz and Maria did their own ballroom dancing, and the fans booed the Miz.
Yep. Hated him here in L.A.
Well, yeah. He's hateable. Natalya versus Brie Bella. there was a fan, a female fan, mind you, held up a sign that talked about Eva Marie's, quote, all red everything.
Yeah.
Okay, then. So they had all of the
So she dyed her
pubes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Apparently, that's what this girl says. Who might have doubt her? So they had all the Total Divas crew out there. And Natalya got her ass kicked. She got yanked off the apron and banged her head on the apron, and then immediately Brie kicked her really hard in the back. And all this action led to the fans chanting the announcers' names, and then demanding tables, and then chanting for Zack Ryder. So the girls did some stuff, and nobody cared, and Natalya put on a sharpshooter, and Funkadactyls and the other Bella and Eva Marie had what was supposed to be a brawl on the floor, where they kind of were near each other and doing stuff, and then separated, and Brie put on a submission hold, and they sat there for a while, and went on. They wrestled some, and then Natalya hit an Alabama slam on the sharpshooter and won.
Not a fan?
No, not a fan at all.
It's all right.
Hey, wacky skit with Ryback. The come to think of it, led to nothing on the show. Ryback was in catering, complaining that the soup was cold. The food geek said, it's gazpacho, it's supposed to be cold. So Ryback poured the soup all over him.
Man, maybe he was at Super China Buffet.
I was very down on the show at this point, and I noted that this did not improve the quality of this show. And Lawler pointed out Ryback was not being a star.
So they admitted he was bullying someone.
Yeah.
Wow. About that.
Punk and Brock Lesnar came out to save the show, and save the show they did. They had an epic fight. They beat the bejesus out of each other repeatedly, particularly at the end when Brock tried to kill CM Punk with chair shots to the back. But they were intense the whole way through. It was that's what I'm looking for. It was another word for intense, but I can't think of it. So fuck it, I'm tired. But they worked hard. They worked their asses off. In fact,
you needed two different words to describe how intense it was.
There's another one I can't think of. There's high speed.
It was.
I'm so fucking tired.
Powerful.
I went to a bachelor party last night. I was up until 4 and then back up at 7.
What'd you do that for?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but suffice to say, one of my cousins.
One of the 84 cousins, like the Hart family?
Essentially, yes. There were 5 of us at this party, and one of them, who was not the groom, we all got completely trashed and liquored up and separated. And there was a point in the night where we didn't know where 2 of them were. We eventually found them all, and they're all safe. But we got a phone call at about 4 in the morning that one of my cousins had been found. Well, he was in the drunk tank because he had been for hours wandering the streets of Seattle drunk and alone.
Where in the hell were the rest of you? How did you get separated so he ended up in the drunk tank?
We were at a club.
He just wandered out?
Essentially, yes. He just left.
Can't y'all tie each other together or something?
We have to, much like I do to my wallet now. My wallet is now on a chain. We have to chain ourselves to each other. So, the issue was we didn't need a designated driver. We needed some person who was sober enough to keep tabs on everyone and figure out what's going on, and none of us did. We were all destroyed. So, he wandered the streets of Seattle for a while. He couldn't find the hotel. Eventually, by his own admission, he just curled up on the sidewalk and went to sleep.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had to get him at 4. And I'll be honest, I didn't go get him. I passed out in the bed. I was asleep. They got back at 4. And then at 7, I was awakened because same cousin had retreated to the bathtub and turned on the water and then locked himself in there. And perhaps passed out. Now, he's not dead. He didn't drown. But he might have.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was not much going to sleep after that. So that's...
And you don't want Brent Kremen at your bachelor party?
No, this is a party. This is how partying should be. Partying should not be safe. Partying should be intense and dangerous. And I don't ever want to do this again. But no, I don't want Brent Kremen at my bachelor party. I do want my cousin Matt.
You what?
I want my cousin Matt to be there.
God.
Yeah. So, anyway, I was tired. I'm still tired.
Well, do I need to look up a synonym for intense?
How important is it to you that we look this up?
Well, we've wasted a lot of time, Vinny, so we may as well find out a synonym for intense.
All right, you do that.
Acute. This was an acute, protracted, violent, vivid match.
Certainly was violent.
It was all-consuming, ardent, biting, and burning.
There was biting involved.
It was impassioned, forcible, and fervid.
Fervid. Match was fervid. So, they beat the hell out of each other, and they kept going for the F5, and they go to sleep, and either one could get it. And then Brock got the Kimura, which has broken many arms in this company. They started transitioning from there into a bunch of different MMA submissions, and the crowd actually knew most of them. And
they were quite simple.
That's still a WWE crowd.
Yeah.
So Punk was finally able to hit a go to sleep, only he didn't hit a knee to the face. He hit a knee to the intestines.
Kind of.
Well,
to the chest.
Brock grabbed his gut and went down. And then Punk made a cover, but Heyman broke it up. And Punk went chasing after Heyman. Brock cut him off again. And finally, Punk got a hold of Heyman and put him in the Anaconda Vice. But then that was the point when Brock grabbed the chair and began to destroy CM Punk with it and left him for dead. Then hit a big, giant F5, throwing him high into the air, dropping him face first onto the chair for the win. And the Super China Buffet crowd in your living room broke into polite applause.
You know what's funny is we were watching after the match had already taken place because we were on a delay as a result of traffic and that sort of thing. And I had been alerted. I actually didn't know what match, but somebody was tweeting me from backstage, and they would just every now and then they'd tweet me some just whatever. And the tweet was just like, standing ovation from the boys backstage. And I was like, wonder what that was for. And, of course, figured it wasn't the Divas match. But it ended up being the Brock Punk match. The guys went through the curtain, and everybody gave him a standing ovation. Everybody in the building gave him a standing ovation. And, in fact, here in the living room, approximately 25 people all gave this match a standing ovation.
Yeah.
This was a great match.
Yeah.
This was... Brock Lesnar is my favorite wrestler.
Yeah.
He beat the living piss out of this guy. I don't think he hurt him, obviously. I've seen matches where guys hurt each other, and I don't want to see a match where two guys are just hurting each other. But Brock has controlled, uncontrolled frenzy. And I like that. I can sustain my disbelief and watch a match and believe that Brock Lesnar is absolutely beating the living hell out of a man. That's exactly what happened here. And Punk made great comebacks, but it was all for naught. They got Paul in there. I mean, this match was perfectly put together. And one of the best WWE matches of the year. It was awesome.
Yeah. Had a video of a fan in Portland who won tickets to SummerSlam by agreeing to take a big splash from Mark Henry at Access. This said fan took the splash and managed to not die, but also sold it like he wished he was dead. Dolph and Caitlyn versus Big E and AJ. The highlight of this match by far was nothing any one of these four did. They were showing tweets at the bottom, and Michelle D. Beadle tweeted that, quote, and this was her statement in its entirety, Brock Lesnar is a strong man. This is true.
He is.
No one will argue this.
He is a strong man.
So Big E was out there, and he's not Brock, but I can watch him throw Dolph around all day. That'll be fun. He tried to do a wacky twisting splash that was just too wacky to work. And then the girls came in, they did a rest hold, and then a sleeper, and this match was put out there to die, and it accomplished its mission.
What if it was real Michelle Beadle, by the way?
I don't know.
She's a Sports Nation co-host.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
Hell was she doing watching this match?
She was watching Brock Lesnar.
Well, it probably was her. She's an avid dog lover, as well as being a fan of wrestling. So there you go.
All right, cool.
Michelle Beadle is, as a sportscaster, she can confirm that Brock Lesnar is a strong man.
She's got credibility.
Yes.
So Dolph tagged in, and he tried to save this match just through sheer power of will. It didn't quite work. And E hit a move that was like a power bomb into a backbreaker. And that wasn't the finish. And eventually Dolph won with a zigzag.
All I gotta say is when I watch a match with 4 people and I constantly forget who the baby faces and heels are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's this whole feud.
I'm such a fan of Big E. Plus, I watch NXT. So I see him in the ring and I want to cheer for him. And I find Caitlyn and Dolph unlikable in their current characters.
Mm-hmm. Fandango interrupted Miz again. Miz laid him out. And then Miz is, they plugged Miz's Christmas movie. Yeah. They went to the celebrity panel for predictions. Shawn Michaels, who knows a thing or two about great wrestling and doesn't strike me as the guy who throws around compliments, he turned to the camera and said, Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, thank you for what you did out there. Yeah. So he was a fan.
He marked out.
Brent Kremen liked Shawn's beard. Didn't notice it the first time.
How did you not notice that, Brent?
You know what? In his defense, and I don't like to defend Brent from anything, that may have been before he had been there.
Possible, I guess.
He did not show up on time.
It's impossible to not notice his beard.
Yeah. And then we had John Cena versus Daniel Bryan. This was something else. Staples Center, it looks like the biggest arena in the country. It's actually not. It's a big arena, but there's several bigger, but it just looks awesome. And when he came out and the whole crowd was doing the yes dance and jumping up and down for him and chanting, it was like, this is a big, big, big fucking deal.
14,500 sold out.
Yeah. And all of them wanted Daniel Bryan to win. And so Cena came out and they hated him, of course. And I don't know how I don't know how to describe this match briefly. They went 20 plus minutes. It was really awesome. Bryan at some points managed to get John Cena to do some it was like an American Dragon ROH style championship match. I did love one point. I'm probably just reading way too much into this, but Bryan went for a surfboard where he steps on his opponent's knees, grapevines the legs, and grabs his hands and rolls back. And it's the internet fans move because they all know when he did it in Ring of Honor. He does it sometimes in WWE, but he did it in every match when he was the American Dragon. So he starts to do this move, and then John Cena, who is the ultimate WWE babyface, just muscles out of it. He just pushes back, and little tiny Daniel Bryan went flying away.
Yeah,
I laughed. So again, Cena kept going for his. He can never get the STF. He can never get the FU. Bryan was countering everything he tried. He got the STF. He managed to get the yes lock on the bad arm. Cena was able to escape, but then he got caught in a guillotine. Cena was being cut off at every turn. Bryan started to run wild. Cena finally got the STF, and after all this work to get it, Bryan reversed it and put him in the yes lock. At that point, Jerry the King Lawler began to mark out on commentary. His voice went several octaves higher. So Bryan kicks in with the running drop kicks in the corner, and on the third one, Cena pops out and hits JBL's clothesline from hell, and there's a loud thunderclap of flesh on flesh, and Bryan went flying ass over tea kettle. They did a double down, and then they went straight into G1 climax mode, slapping each other in the face repeatedly. Bryan actually won the exchange of strikes. He outslapped the man. He hit a small package for a near fall. He had an execution kick. He backed up to the corner. He started chanting yes. He came out of the corner with a jumping knee strike to the face. He laid on top of John Cena, and Triple H, the special guest referee, counted 1, 2, 3. And John Cena did not kick out at 3. He did not kick out at 4. This was a definitive, clean win where Bryan Danielson pinned...
He didn't kick out at 4?
Well, my point being, sometimes guys will... he stayed down.
I see.
He sold the move.
He didn't kick out at 3.1.
No.
Okay.
Not he was beaten. John Cena was beaten. Bryan Danielson beat him in the main event of one of the 2 or 3 biggest shows of the year to win the WWE Championship. And that's remarkable. So Bryan started celebrating with his new belt. Cena grabbed him, pulled him around. Everyone booed. He couldn't hear what he was saying, but first it almost looked like he was giving Bryan a brow beating. Then he smiled, and he shook his hand, and he shook Hunter's hand, and he left to go let his elbow heal. And Bryan had an enormous celebration. There was pyro, there was confetti, there was hoopla. He had a message to his mom and dad saying, thank you for supporting me for all this. And Hunter was there, raising his hand, smiling, chanting yes with them. And finally, Randy Orton came out after the pyro, after the confetti. Music played, and he came out and he held up his briefcase, and Bryan dared him to come fight. He's a fighting champion. And Orton went to walk away, but then Orton stopped and looked back, and suddenly Hunter grabbed Bryan, pedigreed him. And Orton came in, very calmly cashed in. Triple H very calmly ordered the bell to be rung, and Orton turned Bryan over and pinned him. And he won the new title. So, first of all, the crowd reaction to everything was awesome all night long, especially when Bryan won. But we watched this twice because it was essentially because it was awesome. And watching it a second time, it really hit me when, from the moment Triple H hit the pedigree to the moment he counted 3, just how ridiculously white hot that crowd was. Just shitting themselves over this. So, the story is clear. Randy Orton, after all these years, is finally a heel again.
I knew that beard would pay off.
That's right. He's the champion, the chosen champion of the McMahon family, those assholes. Daniel Bryan is the new babyface megastar who has to fight, not only to get his title back, to also get revenge on the powers that be that wronged him. So that was it. This was this is everything pro wrestling can be. A great match with great storytelling, compelling characters, with meaningful historical impact, with a finish and resolution that leaves you wanting to see the next chapter in the story. This was a 5-star wrestling match and segment. This was awesome. So yeah, thumbs up. So
cue me to be critical of something. I actually thought this match was awesome. I thought that, obviously Randy Orton was going to cash in. It's funny because I did an interview today for a show in New Zealand of all places, and we were talking about this match. And I kind of realized it when doing that show that everybody wanted Daniel Bryan to beat John Cena. And everybody wanted Daniel Bryan to be the champion. But if Randy Orton had not cashed in, you still would have had people that would have left upset. You know what I mean? Because they expected it. Because they wanted it. And it was funny watching it because Daniel Bryan was so over and people were so happy when he won. But when Hunter gave him that pedigree, there was still like a big, gigantic cheer. And then when Randy Orton cashed in, there was a big, gigantic cheer because they all saw what they paid to see. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's really weird. But anyway, if I'm critical of one thing, it is this. It's fucking 2013, and I still have to see Triple H as the center of everything. You know what I mean? Well, did he really have to hit his fucking pedigree, and then Randy Orton didn't even hit one goddamn move to get the pin?
That was the part that
really.
I did laugh at that part.
I mean, it's fucking 2013. Yes. I've been watching this since the 90s.
Yes.
Would it have been that hard? You know, somebody actually was like, isn't Bryan going to be pissed off that Triple H turns heel and still does a fair count? And it's like, no. He hit the cocksucker with his move, so of course he thought he could do a slow count. It's the pedigree. Nobody kicks out of the pedigree. He's cocky. What would have been, to me, a fine finish would be Hunter gives the guy the pedigree, Randy Orton cashes in and makes the cover, Triple H does a cocky, regular cadence 3 count, because God knows nobody can kick out of his fucking move, but Daniel Bryan does kick out of his move. And Daniel Bryan, on his deathbed, tries to fire up, Randy Orton hits him with an RKO, and then Hunter does a fast count. Okay? Fine. You know what I mean? At least Randy Orton hit his move, and at least Randy Orton won the title. At least Randy Orton stole the title from this guy. Randy Orton didn't do jack shit. Hunter stole the title. Hunter You know what I mean? Hunter hit his move, which resulted in the pinfall.
Yes.
I know maybe I'm just like marking out like a geek, but Jesus Christ. The next pay-per-view is Randy Orton versus whatever his name is, Daniel Bryan. It's Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan, which is supposed to be the big storyline. And I know that this is all leading to something with Triple H at WrestleMania and everything like that. But for the love of God, that was annoying to me. It wasn't annoying that Orton cashed in. I knew he was going to cash in. I knew Bryan wasn't leaving with the title. I knew all of this. I knew this more than the fucking Reddit guy did. He didn't even know the finish of this match. The streak is over. But Triple H hitting his move and Randy Orton not even hitting a single RKO. It was actually funny. It was so preposterous that it was funny. It's just like, God damn it. It's 2014 and this shit's still happening. And people are sick of John Cena. Anyway, John Cena was great on this show. You know? Mm-hmm. As much as people don't like John Cena, when it's time for John Cena to put a dude over, he puts a guy over. I'm still waiting on Triple H. You know? It annoyed me.
It's been a few years, but he has.
But other than that, man.
It was John Cena, in fact.
Other than that, this was a great match. This was a great show. I like the Brock Punk match better than the main event. The main event was more historic, I guess, because, Daniel Bryan won the title clean from John Cena, but, he's not the champion now. I presume he'll win the title from Orton sometime down the road, but who knows? He may never have a long reign as champion. This all could be much like real life. Vince McMahon wanted to give the people what they wanted, but goddamn, Daniel Bryan is not going to be his champion. That may be how it is. I don't know. But Brock versus Punk just as a spectacle, that was a great, violent, wild spectacle. I thought it was awesome. So anyway, that's SummerSlam, everybody.